Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, sorry for delay. We are starting with the uh, sodium metabolisms, hyponatremia and hypernatremia. This is the sodium is the main electrolyte which controls the fluid and electrolyte balance in the intracellular, interstitial, and plasma levels. So the most of the fluid is in intracellular level 25 liter, and interstitial fluid level is 12 liter, and plasma fluid level is 3 liter. And plasma contains, the blood contains proteins in addition to the electrolytes, sodium and potassium, calcium, magnesium. In the interstitial, osmolality and intracellular osmolality is maintained by the sodium. Sodium exchange between the intracellular level and extracellular levels. The intracellular osmolality is maintained in addition to sodium by potassium mainly, and phosphates and proteins. Next is the kidney plays more important role in the homeostasis of fluid and electrolytes, and most of the electrolytes which are excreted into the distal convoluted, proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, early distal and late distal tubules. 65% of the fluid is absorbed in the proximal part of the uh, nephron, and it is hormonal based reabsorption, angiotensin 2, sympathetic nerves, peritubular forces, and which is highly permeable to water. And the SGLT2 inhibitors and acetazolamide affects are the diuretics which affects this portion. 25% absorption is from loop of Henle, and the loop of Henle is impermeable to water, and it is the active transport of the sodium into the interstitium. And loop diuretics are effective in this portion if there is any defect. And in this 6% in early distal tubule, which is again distal convoluted tubule, which is impermeable, and thiazide diuretics are effective in this portion. Then there is late distal tubule, convoluted tubule, and collecting ducts. 2 to 3% sodium is absorbed here, and it is controlled by the aldosterone. Permeability is increased by vasopressin, and amiloride and spironolactone inhibits the absorption of these. These are the extracellular fluid sodium content and volume sensors are present in the volume receptors in cardiac atria, intrathoracic veins, and pressure receptors in aortic arch, carotid afferent arteriole, tubular fluid, which pass through the macula densa. As a result of this, there is neurohormonal renin-angiotensin aldosterone mechanism. If there is hypovolemia, this will be activate and retain sodium, sympathetic nervous system, and catecholamine release, which will again retain the sodium and water. And ANP and VNP are natriuresis, yet these excrete the sodium, and prostaglandin also inhibits the excretion of the sodium. Hemodynamic, if GFR decrease, the indicates the effect, inhibit the sodium reabsorption. And peritubular forces also affects these reabsorptions. Now, there are three mechanisms. One is the hyponatremia mean. Hyponatremia mean low levels of sodium in the blood, which is from the 135 millimoles to less than 135 millimole. And hypovolemia and hyponatremia symptoms and signs are, we will discuss just after The hyponatremia is characterized by low sodium levels in the blood. And this low sodium level is of three types: hyponatremia with hypovolemia, hyponatremia with euvolemia, and hyponatremia with hypervolemia. The causes of hyponatremia are hypovolemic hyponatremia, renal sodium losses, diuretic therapy, especially thiazides, adrenocortical failure, gastrointestinal sodium losses, vomiting and diarrhea, skin sodium losses, burns, euvolemic, primary polydipsia, and excessive electrolyte-free water infusion, syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, in which there is excess of ADH and it leads to uh, hyponatremia, water retention and hyponatremia, hypothyroidism, hypervolemic in cases of the volume of the water is more in the body than the sodium, is congestive cardiac failure and cirrhosis, nephrotic syndrome, and chronic kidney disease. The symptoms and severity of hyponatremia: mild hyponatremia, if there is sodium is 130 to 135 millimole, and these patients are usually asymptomatic. Moderate, if sodium is 125 to 129 millimole, and it is characterized by symptoms are nausea, delirium, and headache. In severe, less than 124 millimole, vomiting, somnolence, seizures, coma, and cardiorespiratory. Symptoms, once again, symptoms and severity of hyponatremia. Mild hyponatremia is when the sodium level in blood is 130 to 135 millimole. Symptoms are usually patients are asymptomatic. Moderate, when sodium is 125 to 129 millimole. The clinical features are nausea, delirium, and headache. Severe hyponatremia, when sodium is less than 124 millimole, vomiting, somnolence, seizures, coma, and cardiorespiratory arrest can occur. Then there is another classification of hyponatremia, which is called acute hyponatremia and chronic hyponatremia. If hyponatremia occurs within 48 hours, it is called acute hyponatremia. If it occurs slowly developing over hyponatremia more than 48 hours, it is called slowly developing chronic hyponatremia. Acute hyponatremia is characterized by swelling of the cerebral, all cells, especially cerebral swelling of cerebral cells, and cerebral edema occurs. In case of normal cerebral cell, the plasma osmolality is 290 and cellular osmolality is also 290. And in cases of plasma, osmoles falls gradually, 290 to 220. The intracellular potassium moves out and the synthesis of organic osmolytes decreases, and the normal, no change in the cerebral cell size occurs. Investigations depend on investigations include algorithm for the clinical assessment of patients with hyponatremia. Artifactual causes of hyponatremia should be considered in all cases. These include severe hyperlipidemia, hyperproteinemia, when aqueous fraction, of the serum serum specimen is reduced because of the volume occupied by macromolecules. Although this artifact is dependent on the assay technology, the hyponatremia, transient hyponatremia may also occur due to osmotic shift of water out of the cells during hyperosmolar states caused by acute hyperglycemia or by mannitol infusion. But in these cases, plasma osmolality is normal. When there is a condition that when these conditions have been excluded, serum and urine osmolalities and electrolytes are usually the only test required to clarify the underlying cause. Hypovolemic hyponatremia is characterized by a low urinary sodium concentration, less than 30 millimole. Hypovolemic hyponatremia is characterized by low urinary sodium concentration, less than 30 millimole per liter, when there are extrarenal causes of sodium loss and a high urinary sodium concentration, greater than 30 millimole in patient with excessive renal sodium loss. Measurement of vasopressin is not generally helpful in the distinguishing between different categories of hyponatremia. This is because concentration of vasopressins are raised both in hypovolemic states and in most chronic hypervolemic states, as the impaired circulation in these disorders activates vasopressin release through the non-osmotic mechanisms. Indeed, patients with these disorders may have higher or circulating vasopressin levels than patients with syndrome of inappropriate ADH. The algorithm for the diagnosis of hyponatremia is this. Algorithm for diagnosis of hyponatremia: low serum sodium, less than 135 millimole, check urea, glucose, lipids, and immunoglobulins. Abnormal, consider non-hypotonic hyponatremia. Investigate and treat the underlying cause. If diabetic or hyperlipidemia, then check that. If normal, if urea, glucose, lipids, and immunoglobulins are normal. Hypotonic hyponatremia, osmolality is less than 2.75 milliosmol per kg. Check urine osmolality. If less than 100 milliosmol per kg, excessive water intake, which occurs in primary polydipsia, beer protomania, excessive intake of beer, low solute intake, less sodium intake, greater than 100 milliosmol per kg, measure urine sodium. If less than 30 millimole per liter, low intravascular volume. Low intravascular volume, signs of volume depletion. Look for signs of volume depletion such as tachycardia, postural hypotension, loss of skin turgor, and check for vomiting, diarrhea, and pancreatitis. These are the causes. Signs of fluid overload such as raised JVP, edema, and ascites, pleural effusion. So check for cirrhosis, heart failure, nephrotic syndrome. These are the causes of signs in which there are signs of fluid overload, and intravascular volume is low in these cases. And then there is increased than 30 millimole sodium. Evidence of kidney disease: yes, hyponatremia may be secondary to kidney disease. No. Check for evidence of hypovolemia. If signs of hypovolemia, diuretics and adrenal insufficiencies must be considered. Diuretics and signs of hypovolemia, consider diuretics and adrenal insufficiency. If there is normal extracellular fluid volume, such as there is no edema, no raised JVP, consider syndrome of inappropriate ADH and hypothyroidism. Now, hypernatremia is a condition in which management of hyponatremia is, if there is, the treatment of hyponatremia is critically dependent on its rate of development. Rate of development, severity, and presence of symptoms and underlying cause. If hyponatremia has developed rapidly, less than 48 hours, and there are signs of cerebral edema, such as confusion and convulsions. Sodium levels should be restored rapidly to normal by infusion of hypertonic 3% sodium chloride. A common approach is to give an initial bolus of 150 ml over 20 minutes, which may be repeated once or twice over the initial hours of observation. Depending on the neurological response, if the patient neurological symptoms improve and rise in plasma sodium, rapid correction of hyponatremia that has developed more slowly or greater than 48 hours can be hazardous, since the brain cells adopt to slowly developing hypoosmolality by reducing the intracellular osmolality, thus maintaining normal cell volume. Under these conditions, an abrupt increase in extracellular osmolality can lead to water shifting out of neurons abruptly reducing their volume and causing them to detach from their myelin sheath. This is called myelinolysis, can produce permanent structural and functional damage to the midbrain structures and is generally fatal. The rate of correction of the plasma sodium concentration in chronic asymptomatic hyponatremia should not excrete 10 millimole per 24 hours. The rate of correction of plasma sodium concentration in chronic asymptomatic hyponatremic patients should not exceed 10 millimole per 24 hours, and even slow rate is generally safer. The underlying cause should also be treated. The underlying cause should also be treated. For hypovolemic patients, this involves controlling the source of sodium loss and administering intravenous saline if clinically warranted. So, treat the underlying cause. For hypovolemic patients, this involves controlling the source of loss of sodium and administering intravenous saline if clinically warranted. Patients with euvolemic hyponatremia generally respond to fluid restriction in the range of 600 and 1000 ml per 24 hours, accompanied where possible by withdrawal of precipitating stimulus such as drugs causing syndrome of inappropriate ADH. This is the treatment of euvolemic hyponatremia, generally responds to fluid restriction in the range of 600 to 1000 ml per 24 hours, accompanied where possible by the withdrawal of precipitating stimulus such as drugs causing NSAID in patients with persistent hyponatremia prolonged due to the in patients with persistent hyponatremia due to prolonged syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion. Oral urea therapy 30 to 45 gram per day used can be used, which provides a solute load to promote water excretion. Oral vasopressin receptor antagonists such as tolvaptan may also be used to block the vasopressin-mediated component of water retention in range of hyponatremic conditions. But concerns exist with regard to the risk of overly rapid correction of hyponatremia with these agents. Hypervolemic patients with hyponatremia need treatment of the underlying conditions, such as patients with cirrhosis, heart failure, nephrotic syndrome. Hypervolemic patients with hyponatremia need treatment of underlying conditions accompanied by cautious use of diuretics in conjunction with strict fluid restriction. Potassium sparing diuretics may be particularly useful in this context when there is a significant secondary hyperaldosteronism. Hypervolemic patients with hyponatremia need treatment of the underlying conditions such as heart failure, cirrhosis, accompanied by cautious use of diuretics in conjunction with strict fluid restriction. Potassium sparing diuretics may be particularly useful in this context when there is a significant secondary hyperaldosteronism. Hypernatremia. Hypernatremia is defined as existing when serum sodium is greater than 145 millimole. Causes are These are the causes of hypernatremia: hypovolemic hypernatremia, euvolemic hypernatremia, and hypervolemic hypernatremia. In hypovolemic hypernatremia, the total water volume is less and the sodium level is high. In euvolemic, the total volume of water is normal, but there is increased sodium level. In hypervolemic, there is increased fluid volume as well as there is increased sodium level. Sodium level is relatively more than the fluid level. Renal sodium losses. Hypovolemic hypernatremia occurs in patients with renal sodium losses. Diuretic therapy, especially osmotic diuretic, loop diuretics during water restriction. Glycosuria, especially hyperosmolar, hyperglycemic hyperosmolar state, gastrointestinal sodium losses, chronic diarrhea such as villus adenoma, in which there is loss of water as well as sodium. Other proteins, and also there is loss of sodium, but water loss is relatively more than the sodium loss. Skin sodium loss is excessive sweating in hot environment. Euvolemic condition is diabetes insipidus, central or nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, in which there is a deficiency of antidiuretic hormone and which results in polyuria and polydipsia. And there is hyperosmolarity and urine, blood hyperosmolarity and urine hypoosmolality. Hypervolemic antral and parenteral feeding, antral or parenteral feeding, intravenous and oral salt administration, intravenous and oral salt administration, chronic kidney disease during water restriction, if there is water restriction. Chronic kidney disease during water restriction. What are the clinical features? Clinical feature: patients with hypernatremia generally have reduced cerebral function, either as a primary problem or as a consequence of the hypernatremia itself, which results in dehydration of neurons and brain shrinkage. Dehydration of neurons and brain shrinkage, which results in dehydration and of neurons and brain shrinkage in the presence of an intact thirst mechanism and preserved capacity to obtain or ingest water. Hypernatremia may not progress very far. If adequate water is not obtained, that is, if hypernatremia develops rapidly, dizziness, delirium, weakness, and ultimately coma and death results. These are the clinical features. First is dizziness, delirium, weakness, and ultimately coma and death occurs. If adequate water is not obtained, dizziness, delirium, weakness, and ultimately coma and death occurs. What is the management of treatment of hypernatremia depends on both the rate of development and underlying cause. Treatment of hypernatremia depends on both the rate of development and the underlying cause. If there is a reason to think that the condition has developed rapidly, neuronal shrinkage may be acute and relatively rapid correction may be attempted. If there is acute hypernatremia, rapid correction may be attempted. This can be achieved by infusion of an appropriate volume of intravenous fluid, isotonic 5% dextrose or hypotonic 0.45 saline at an initial rate of 50 to 70 ml per hour. In older institutionalized patients, however, it is more likely that the disorder has developed slowly, and extreme caution should be exercised in lowering plasma sodium to avoid the risk of cerebral edema. In elderly, due to chronic loss of fluid, hypernatremia, the isotonic 5% dextrose or hypotonic saline should be given with caution because of developing cerebral edema. Where possible, the underlying cause should be addressed. Underlying cause should also be treated. Elderly patients are predisposed in different circumstances to both hyponatremia and hypernatremia, and a high risk of suspicion of these electrolyte disturbances is appropriate in elderly patients with recent alteration in behavior. Hyponatremia and hypernatremia. In old age, decline in GFR, older patients are predisposed to both hyponatremia and hypernatremia, mainly because as glomerular filtration rate declines with age, the capacity of the kidney to dilute or concentrate of the urine is impaired. Hyponatremia occurs when free water intake continues in the presence of low dietary intake, salt intake, or diuretic drugs, particularly thiazides. Hyponatremia in elderly occurs when free water intake continues in the presence of low dietary salt intake or diuretic drugs, particularly. Vasopressin release, water retention is aggravated by any condition that stimulate vasopressin release, especially heart failure. Moreover, the vasopressin response to non-osmotic stimuli may be brisker in older subjects. Appropriate water restriction may be key part of the management. Hypernatremia occurs when water intake is inadequate due to physical restrictions preventing access to drink and or blunted thirst. Both are frequently present in patients with advanced dementia or following severe stroke. Dietary salt hypernatremia is aggravated if dietary supplements or medication are with a high sodium content, especially effervescent preparation. Sodium preparations are administered. An NSAIDs, appropriate prescription of fluid is a part of the management. Appropriate fluid is the part of. Let's discuss few of the important topics which we have missed in the pathogenesis. These are the causes of sodium and water excess: impaired renal function, primary renal disease, primary hyperaldosteronism, Cohen syndrome, secondary hyperaldosteronism, congestive cardiac failure, cirrhotic liver disease, nephrotic syndrome, protein losing enteropathy, malnutrition, idiopathic cyclic edema, renal artery stenosis. These are the mechanism of heart failure, cirrhosis, and nephrotic syndrome, how they produce hyponatremia and water retention. If there is heart failure, there is increased venous pressure and increased capillary hydrostatic pressure, result into edema. If there is decreased, as a heart failure, there is decreased cardiac output, decreased arterial filling, at increased renin-angiotensin-aldosteronism mechanism, increased renal sympathetic drive, altered renal hemodynamics, there is reduced perfusion into the kidneys. Cirrhosis, in the cirrhosis, there is reduced albumin synthesis and decreased plasma albumin results into decreased intravascular arterial filling and increased renin-angiotensin, aldosterone, and renal sympathetic drive and altered hemodynamic. Peripheral vasodilation and splanchnic pooling occurs due to the hyperalbuminemia. Nephrotic syndrome, heavy proteinuria, decreased plasma albumin, decreased capillary oncotic pressure, and edema. In these conditions, we manage these patients with specific treatment directed at the underlying cause, such as ACE inhibitors in heart failure and glucocorticoids in minimal change nephropathy. Restriction of dietary sodium from 50 to 80 millimole per 24 hours to match the diminished excretory capacity, and treatment with diuretics. We have left with 5 minutes. So once again, hyponatremia is defined as serum sodium less than 135 millimole. It is a common electrolyte abnormality with many potential underlying causes. The causes of hyponatremia are hypovolemic, renal sodium losses, diuretic therapies, especially thyroids, adrenocortical failure, Addison's disease, gastrointestinal sodium losses, vomiting, diarrhea, skin sodium losses, burns, euvolemic hyponatremia, which is primary polydipsia, excessive electrolyte-free water infusion, and syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretions, hypothyroidism, hypervolemia, congestive cardiac failure, cirrhosis, nephrotic syndrome, chronic kidney disease. Then these are the symptoms and severity of hyponatremia: mild, sodium 130 to 135 asymptomatic, moderate 125 to 129, nausea, delirium, headache, severe less than 125 millimole, vomiting, somnolence, seizures, coma, and cardiorespiratory disease. One condition which we should mention is, ये क्या हुआ है? हैं? ये लड़के इधर देखना जरा, हैं? इसको ये क्या होगा? 5 मिनट दे दो बस मुझे.  बस सिर्फ एक ही टेबल था. ये बंद हो गया. $378. $378. देखो ठहरो बस, इसमें एक टेबल है. हाँ, ये है बस. Causes and diagnosis of syndrome of inappropriate ADH. Syndrome of inappropriate ADH, causes and diagnosis of syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone secretion. Causes are tumors, central nervous system disorders, stroke, trauma, and infection. And pulmonary disorders, pneumonia, tuberculosis, obstructive lung disease, drugs, anticonvulsants, psychotropics, and antidepressants, cytotoxic, oral hypoglycemic agents, and opiates, idiopathic. These are the drugs these are the conditions, causative agents for syndrome of inappropriate ADH, in which there is increased ADH secretion. The diagnosis of ADH is dependent on low plasma sodium concentration, less than 130 millimole, and low plasma osmolality, less than 2.75 millimole, and urine osmolality not primarily low, typically greater than 100 milliosmol, and urinary sodium concentration is not normally a low, greater than 30 millimole per liter. Low normal plasma urea creatinine and uric acid. Clinically euvolemia, absence of signs of dehydration and edema, hypervolemia, absence of adrenal, thyroid, and pituitary and renal insufficiency, no recent use of diuretics, exclusion of causes of hyponatremia, appropriate clinical context. Above the conditions should be, above conditions, signs, symptoms should be manifested by the patients. So these are the causes of and diagnosis of syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone reabsorbs 3% of the fluid from the distal duct. So if it is increased, it reabsorbs fluid. The causes of syndrome of inappropriate ADH is tumors, cranial, central nervous system disorders, stroke, trauma, infection, psychosis, porphyria, and in pulmonary disorders, pneumonia, tuberculosis, obstructive lung disease, drugs, anticonvulsant, psychotropic drugs, antidepressants, cytotoxics are oral hypoglycemic agents, opiates, and idiopathic. Diagnosis depends on low plasma sodium concentration, typically less than 130 millimole, low plasma osmolality, less than 2.75 milliosmol, urine osmolality not minimally low, typically greater than 100, osmolality of the urine is low, and the urinary sodium concentration is also low, but 30 millimole, greater than 30 millimole per liter. Low plasma urea, creatinine, and uric acid, clinically euvolemic. There are no signs of fluid overload or hypervolemia, no evidence of heart failure, cirrhosis, renal failure, absence of adrenal, thyroid, pituitary, and renal insufficiency, no recent use of diuretics, exclusion of other causes of hyponatremia, appropriate clinical context. In these patients, there is euvolemic hyponatremia, and the symptoms and signs of the hyponatremia will be there. In case of diabetes insipidus, there is two types of diabetes insipidus. There is central diabetes insipidus and there is nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. In case of central, there is damage to the subthalamus and the posterior pituitary, and in case of damage to the kidney in nephrogenic. In these conditions, there is the polydipsia and polyuria, and there is increased plasma osmolality, and there is increased plasma osmolality, and there is decrease in plasma uh, urinary osmolality. So this is the difference between the two, and in that condition we give vasopressin in that condition. And if vasopressin improves the urine blood osmolality and reduces the excretion of water, then uh, it is effective, and that is the only treatment. It is available in the vasopressin is available. खत्म हो गया चलो